my name is Kelly Yakas. Pretty much born and bred in Kaikohe. I actually grew up in a little rural settlement called Awarua, about 20 minutes out of town. Came to our local intermediate here. Actually went away to Nelson to secondary school and then down to Dunedin and did a law degree down there. Finished that, did a BA and finished that in Auckland. I decided, and then I had my first son, who's now 17, and when I had him, it dawned on me that I really wanted to bring my children up at home where I was from, because what was important to me was my connection to my whenua, to my whakapapa, and to the people who I knew could help me actually bring up my children, which were my family. So I have a son and a daughter who's 14, and a little secret I've just told people, I've got a 6-week-old in here. So that's the big news. Now you all know. So yeah, I've got a bit of a legal background. I never practiced law until about 3 years ago, and I've been working with claimants to present their evidence to the Waitangi Tribunal in a couple of claims. So we're up here in the Ngapuhi claim inquiry and also in the military veterans inquiry that started last year. So that's kind of my real job. A few years ago, I went for a Ministry of Education contract, and that was, so there was this big push about increasing early childhood participation. We were lucky enough to get the contract. I mean, the two outcomes were to increase ECE participation in Kaikohe. So it was done under the Ministry of Education Early Learning Task Force, so it was a specific targeted program. And we had a target of enrolling 80 children under 5 in an early childhood setting. We didn't worry about that statistic. We didn't worry about the outcomes. So we set up a drop-in centre in town. And we were really fortunate because before we got any contract money or anything like that, we actually had the buy-in from a couple of businesses in town, and they let us sort of overtake an empty space in one of their next to their shops. So yeah, we had a lot of families coming in. There's no strings attached. You didn't have to enrol in our service. You didn't have to stay for a minimum number of hours. You could come and have a cup of tea. You could meet more parents. We could, set them up with referrals if they wanted to, because we already had those connections in the community, because the people that were in that setting were well-established parents who had utilised a lot of services in the community and knew how to tap into those resources. So in a real organic way, it was a way to support parents in their parenting, to engage our young children and young babies in early learning activities that did help with their early learning and brain development and all the other stuff that you learn in ECE, but in a way that was non-threatening. And for our parents that live in Kaikohe, as has been spoken before, you don't want another government department or the police or anyone from school knocking on your door saying, "Where have you been? What do you need? What can we do for you?" This was all voluntary. So people just came in off the street, and if you look at the indicators that you see up on the wall, probably most of them had 4 or 5 of those. They either had a father in prison, or the mum was, hadn't gone to any tertiary education, or they could have been in an abusive relationship. So all of those parents came through our door. So it was that one-on-one personal connection that you made with that person, and then they just kept coming back. And the way we measured that, our doors were, we were full almost every day for 2 years. It's connected people, not just at the drop-in centre, but it's created relationships within the wider whānau, and now whānaus are visiting other whānaus in their homes. And people don't care what your home's like. It could be messy, it could be really basic, but I think the important thing is that when you've made that connection and that relationship, then that's the actual thing that actually makes someone feel, that they're worthy. We've had other things like workshops for actual ECE teachers in Kaikohe. So it's not just about our families, but it's about our wider early childhood family working together as well. When we were open for about maybe a year and a half, I might have been actually a year, just over a year, and we were getting lots of numbers in the drop-in centre, but we went to those hard streets that everyone talks about, Windsor Road, Tawa Street, the street where, you know, there's lots of things happening. I remember, that empty section was owned by the Te Runanga at the time. I'm sure they didn't mind us using it, but we went and mowed the lawn and picked up the rubbish the day before and set up play, and sometimes you just got to do these things, yeah. A lot of these kids also, they're not participating in early childhood education, and after we did this project, we realised that there are still a number of sort of children who are about 3 and 4 years old that parents actually like to start keeping at home because they're getting a little bit, actually my boy's going to be going to school soon, I just want him to hang out with his dad for the last couple of months. And so we set up this playgroup at one of our local schools just for 4-year-olds. And that was a playgroup designed specifically to help transition not just children into primary school, but help whānau understand the importance of that transition. And we've been really fortunate to have an empty classroom in one of our primary schools here available for us to do that. And so that's a specialised playgroup for 8 children, and they get dropped off every morning. They're part of the school karakia in the morning, and then they go back to their planned activities and that sort of thing during the day. We work with other groups in the community, so we've got this really awesome youth crew called Helping Young People Evolve, called the Hype Crew. And so they're a real key part of Kaikohe's development as well. And that's run voluntarily. They meet once a week and they talk about, all sorts of things. They run different little events in Kaikohe. These guys have been a part of it. So yeah, that was one of our annual Whanau Fun Fests. Lots of people involved. This one was this year, just held out here in our memorial park here. Again, it's not a big ticket sort of event. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and the services donate their time and their resources to come along. And it's also about providing experiences for our tamariki in Kaikohe. It's not about going out here, there and everywhere. We actually have some amazing resources here in Kaikohe, and so we want to expose our kids to that as well. And there they are at Ngāwhā Pools up the road. Actually, one of the key things with this project when we first started was that the Ministry of Education had a hands-off approach. They basically said, you know your community, you do what you need to do. And I think that's what helped us be so successful. That's all I have to say. Thank you.